Good morning, buongiorno, buenos dias, bon dia, bonjour, buongiorno, kalimera, dunya din, sabal khair, boker tov, dobro jutro, dobro utro, buona dimineata, dobri ranok, bonjour, bon dia. Welcome to another of our morning coffees. May I remind you, please, to keep your microphones on mute unless you really want to scream. And also, at the end of the session, you can put your questions to us either in the chat facility or please raise your hands. Emilia, you have a few things to remind us about, please.
Good morning, MedCruise. Good morning. Welcome in one more morning coffee. Nice to see you all and start the week with you. About professional development course, thank you, a big thank you for your enthusiastic welcome of 2021 edition. I would like to remind you that the content of professional development course of 2021 is for participants of different professional and knowledge backgrounds. You have the opportunity this year to invite stakeholders that closely work with at the destination. An important note, please, the decision is for partners in serving cruise lines rather than cruise lines per se. So please, we would like to ask you to restrict from inviting cruise lines in 2021 edition professional development course. And there is no limit on the participants per member and invitees. All information, speakers, programs, links to register are online in MedCruise website. Please access events tab. Find all the information there along with the link to register and guidelines of how your guests can register. Thank you so much. The professional development course is next Monday, 26th of April and Wednesday, 28th of April. Thank you so much.
Also, we have some news as well about our new Instagram account. Perhaps you'd like to give us more information about that as well, Emilia?
We are pleased to announce that we now have Instagram account. Please follow us, MedCruise.official. It's going to be, follow us and share the story, spread the news to your network. We are kindly invite you when you are uploading stories and photos with cruise ships from your destinations, etc. Please tag us, mention MedCruise.official account. Spread the news. It's going to be a destination-oriented account rather than a MedCruise account that announces the events, etc. of MedCruise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emilia. Buongiorno, Laura.
Buongiorno. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. I hope you're all good and healthy. And we're going to commence today, picking up from where we left last time. We, in fact, invited again, and we thank her for the availability, Deborah Vega from Intercruises, because we received a lot of questions during last morning coffee. But, you know, we have Nicky, and he's very strict with time, and we couldn't go on. Otherwise, he would kill me. So we decided, in order for you to have all the information that you want, and because it was very interesting what she was saying about this new normality. She was telling about how this excursion will be, but also telling us, giving us some hints on how to promote and communicate our new destinations, or destination after the pandemic or during the pandemic, because to be honest, we don't know when this pandemic is going to end. So this is probably something that we have to get used to, and that is why we have invited again Deborah Vega to be with us. And today we're going to have also a very, very interesting point of view from Maria Kofou. Maria Kofou is a travel blogger, and she is an influencer on Instagram. She has I can't remember how many. Well, she has 1,000, right, Emilia? 1,000 of. I can't hear you. follow
40,000, more than
40,000 followers. Yes, her account is very interesting. I suggest you to follow her. It's travel stories from my world, and she's very passionate about her travel into the Mediterranean. So Maria will go. She's going to give us her point of view. She has also traveled on one of well, actually, she went on 2 cruises lately, and she will share some of her experience on board. I think it would be very interesting to hear from her. But Deborah, good morning and welcome back again. We will start with you, and please pick up from where we left and go on freely. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Laura, Nicky, and Anya, and Amelia, and all the MedCruise for inviting me to join you for coffee. Swapped it for orange juice this morning. I'll try to keep it brief this time and stay upright, because last time my computer crashed and I think I ended up most of the session sideways. So I'm going to give you a quick recap of the session a few weeks ago, where I outlined a few of those experiences and the lessons learned. I think I mentioned that we restarted cruises and operations last year in France, actually with Ponant, and then we've been operating since then, particularly in Greece and the Canary Islands. So in this last instance, of course, we're operating TUI Cruises, Hapag-Lloyd and AIDA, and also Mystic Cruises having their first call a few days ago. And so in general, it's not been easy, but all the collaboration that we have received from all the stakeholders has certainly made it much easier. And we've found challenges, but we have always found solutions. I explained the preparation of the product on the last session. And as you're aware, many of the products have to be modified according to the implementation of the local restrictions. So new tours designed to meet the demand from guests of particularly alternative venues, beach clubs, national parks, the uptake on the new shorter experience options that have proved really popular, with guests now being obliged to participate in shorex to debark. Not everyone wants to have a full day or a more classical guided tour. There have been challenges of closed or no longer operating providers, unfortunately, that have complicated plans. Indeed, even venues or activities that from one week to the next, they couldn't open due to changes in local restrictions. I also mentioned the situation regarding buses and guides. So as a general rule, the coaches are being filled anywhere between 60 and 80%, even though in some destinations there are no restrictions and the capacity allowed is 100%. So this, of course, means more coaches. However, as currently, let's say, there's ample supply due to the reduced tourism, then it's not really a problem. Guests who, guides can be a bit trickier. Please not the guides themselves, who've been super helpful and collaborative, but just means to say in cases where we often have an additional guide as group sizes have been reduced. So we may have one coach with 35 guests on board, however, with 2 guides. So you can appreciate that this is an additional cost for the cruise line. The number of guides has not really been a challenge, and for the same reason as the coaches. Although, of course, we do have challenges when we have more than one ship in port, and where perhaps, as you can see from what cruise lines we've been operating, maybe we need a lot of German-speaking guides, for example. So I think on this one, and I highlighted it last time, the stakeholders all together need to revise and consider this moving forward to really ensure that from all sides we can deliver a great guest experience. Another thing that we found super useful was the implementation of whispers. They've become key in order to ensure that the guest has the possibility to respect the social distancing. They're not crowded around the guide and therefore not crowded around each other. As with the number of guests per guide, you can have a maximum number of guests per group from anything from 10 and also going down to 4. In many destinations, there's an abundant supply of whispers, but not in all. And this was a challenge that we had in our initial planning, for example, in the Canary Islands, where perhaps the nature of the product in the past has not really seen the demand for whispers. Restaurants have also delivered challenges, and I think you're all aware that there's no buffets served, so only service-seated meals can be offered at this time. So if the restaurants we had in the program is not available for guests, then we would need to discuss alternative served menu, not tapas, no sharing, all on plates. And understandably, this means for the restaurant an increased number of waiters, so increasing costs. Tables need to be restricted to traveling groups or bubbles, still respecting the official restrictions. Even if they have a family group of 6 and the restriction is maximum 4, then 2 of the other guests will need to sit on a different table. I think this is pretty good summary and a little additional information on the restaurants. We've had great collaboration from the cruise lines. We've had full shore excursion teams on the dispatch to ensure that everything has been running smoothly. I think probably the thing that I mentioned last time is the biggest challenge. What are the restrictions today may not be the restrictions tomorrow. And I think we've even found just this last weekend that the tier level in the Canary Islands has changed. I just received that information very quickly. And it will be for sure not the same as it will be in 6 weeks. So it's very difficult to plan, but we need to be ready. We need to be agile, and we all need to be flexible. So that's the boring technical side, and I'm sure that Maria is really going to give us a lot more
thank
fun
you.
information.
Thank you, Deborah. But actually, before going to Maria, I have a couple of questions for you. One thing that's really important for us is how, first, you mentioned, of course, that these restrictions basically caused an increase of costs for both for the basically for the excursion. But what I wanted to know is the price of the excursion. Did it raise for the final customer? Was it more expensive than the normal before the pandemic, or was it mainly the same?
A good question, Laura. What we've noticed is that the cruise lines have been very good and have tried to maintain the original costs, particularly in those cases where, of course, the excursion is a like for like to what they've had in their program. As you can appreciate, many have already had pre-sales, perhaps, with some of those. So they have really tried and have, of course, been assuming some of the additional costs that have been generated by the restrictions.
I see. Thank you. And another thing I'd like to know, how did you choose, basically, what excursion to propose? I mean, in these changing times, as you were saying, you have to be ready and change your programs. But also, I'd like to know, let's say, I mean, you had restaurants that normally were serving the meals and so on. How did you change it? How did you choose? This could be helpful for us to know, there is a bigger expectation on the restart of the market, and people, of course, who worked before with the cruises, also with those passengers that normally go on their own and they don't take the excursion, they are waiting to work again. So it's a bit tricky, to tell them you have to wait and that we choose where to bring you. Well, we don't, of course, of sports, but this is what I wanted to know. How did you manage to control this choice?
From the very beginning, I think I mentioned last time that we have a huge team that has been analysing the market trends. So we definitely saw a new, well, not really a new, but let's say an increased desire from guests to be outdoors. As I mentioned, the national parks, the beaches, the walking. And So we knew that there were going to be more of a high demand for this. So in some locations, maybe, or some destinations, maybe we were only offering at that time maybe 1 or 2 of that type of excursion. So we really did increase our demand, increase our portfolio there, together, of course, with the cruise lines. Of course, the cruise lines were always very active in the participation of selecting which cruises, which type of excursion that they want to offer. Of course, they're the primary ones. However, we were putting forward a lot more options on that regard. With regards to the actual suppliers themselves, in the majority of cases, we really tried to stick with those that we already were working with, and worked very much with them to adapt their venue or their offering to meet the new type of demand. I think it's very important to support those suppliers that we have had relationships for long periods of time, and work together to find the solutions. Sometimes if there isn't a solution, we would need to look elsewhere, whether it's a temporary basis or not, or whether it's a new opportunity for everyone involved. And there have been a few of those occasions. But I'm happy to say that I would say 99% of the time we've really managed to get the solution together with the supplier.
Deborah, I have a question, if I may, coming back to the question of costs, which I think is something that is going to be worrying all of us in the next, the short term at least, and how that's affecting travel and how it's affecting demographics as well. Because, you know, I wonder whether you've seen a change in the demographic of the age of the groups that people are traveling, or, you know, do you expect this to have an effect on that? Because there's been talk about how a rise in costs will affect who travels, who can't travel. And also, of course, the more mature population as well are the ones that tend to be vaccinated or not vaccinated, and what that's going to have an effect. So have you seen a change in demographics, and do you expect that to be, you know, in the short, maybe to medium term, something that you're going to see?
With regards to the demographics, I mean, I think the average age of the cruise guest is around 47, right? I think with regards to what has been happening in this winter period, most definitely those people that have vaccinated, and so we can see a little bit more, let's say, senior age bracket that has been cruising. Of course, those, let's say, group tend to have a certain disposable income. So with regards to that, we haven't seen any situation where it's, let's say, inhibited any of their spend. I think what's important to notice is that we need to offer product that meets the accessibility for all people that are cruising. And not everybody has the same disposable income, of course, and we all know that because we often have the, let's say, the highlights tours, which tend to be more economical. What we really worked on was to make sure that we even had reduced hours tours, even down to 2 hours, for example, which again become much more economical for the guest. We can do it, let's say, a back-to-back, and we can perhaps use with sanitation, of course, in between the same coach or the same guide. So we tend to try to keep costs down on this regard, so that we can make sure that it's very accessible, particularly if the guest doesn't have a choice, right? In order to see the destination, and they want to see the destination, then we have to give them the possibility to be able to access it at a very reasonable price.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a last question, if I may, Deborah. If you had to give one advice to our members on how to adapt their destination to this new reality, what would you say?
Think of all options. Think of all possibilities that could happen, and be ready and be flexible. That's the main thing. We need to really have our minds open and say to ourselves, okay, we know what's been the classic in the past, but let's not restrict ourselves to that. What could be the situation tomorrow? And let's be ready for it. Let's not face it when it arrives. Let's think of what could happen tomorrow, in 3 weeks' time, and in 4, and get ourselves ready. And whether it's to have plan A to D or even E, then let's do so, and let's have those plans ready and be flexible.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deborah. Thanks again for being again with us. It was very
You're
interesting.
welcome.
And Nicky, let's go to Maria, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I mean, Maria, good morning. Welcome. We've already had the pleasure of meeting you and talking to you a little bit about what you do. But you are described as a travel blogger and digital storyteller, which I love. So perhaps you can take us down your story and let our members and our family know about your experiences of cruising.
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be with you. So yes, actually, I'm a journalist, and for the last 8 years, I'm also a travel blogger. My blog was started while I was living in Italy, my second home, I would say. And I also am a marketing manager in a travel agency for less than 6 months. I have this opportunity actually, because you really know the situation of the last year. So yes, and in this with this travel agency, I had the opportunity to collaborate with Cruiseway, that it's a big travel agency all about cruises. And this is how I started exploring the cruise family and all the experience around cruising. So I want you to take with me to Italy, because last October was the first cruise experience that I had during the pandemic, and in a safety bubble, as Costa Cruises calls it. And this year, by the end, it was around the last 2 weeks of February, I also had a really, really nice and interesting experience on board on MSC Grandiosa of MSC Cruises. And I don't know if maybe it's better to start with a video now, so to introduce you to my experience, and then I will explain to you more or less all about this cruise, the latest cruise, the MSC Grandiosa, my thoughts, the steps, the procedure in this safety bubble on board on the ship, and maybe I can answer some questions after that. So
okay,
let's see the video. Thanks. Η Γκραντιόσα μας βρίσκεται γυροβολημένη στο λιμάνι της Μεσίνα. Λοιπόν, η έκπληξη προορισμός ήταν το βολκάνο, το ηφαίστειο Έτνα, και έχουμε έρθει σε κάποιους κρατήρες. Φυσικά μπορεί να δείτε πίσω πόσο wow είναι. Και επειδή πολύ αναρωτιέστε, είναι πολύ ασφαλές εδώ το σημείο, γι' αυτό μας φέρανε εδώ. Quanti gradi?
Solo 70.
If you're the Meg, headband for core. Pistacchio, sì, sì, sì.
Επιστροφή λοιπόν στην όμορφη Βαλέτα, ο καιρός είναι φανταστικός και πάμε να κάνουμε τη βολτίτσα μας. Λοιπόν, το ωραίο με τη Μάλτα είναι ότι υπάρχει μια σχετική κανονικότητα εδώ και έχει πολύ ενδιαφέρον. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι τα vibes είναι πάρα πολύ θετικά και παρόλο που και αυτοί βρίσκονται φυσικά σε καθεστώς COVID,
I know it's all Greek to you. I'm gonna translate some things later.
Και προσέχουν πάρα πολύ με σχέση στην Ιταλία μόνο.
Maria, would you like to start? And if the video plays, okay.
Of course. So let's start from the beginning. Of course, the first steps once we were at the Civitavecchia port were, okay, now how I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna be sure that everything is gonna be fine. Of course, I want to be on the cruise. Of course, I want to explore some places, and I want to feel again the travel vibes. But is it gonna be everything okay? How safe I'm gonna be? So once, of course, we have all our everything checked in online. It's the first step. We have, before going to the port, we have everything already on our mobile. Once we are at the port, the first step, of course, it's the temperature check. Actually, during all week, when we were on board, we were still every day had to have some temperature checks, or when we were at the breakfast venue, the buffet, we still had before sitting, we have to check the temperatures. We have to wash our hands. We were like, there wasn't any other option. You couldn't go sit and eat your breakfast without washing your hands. Things that they should always be like this, but now it's more important. So I'm going back again. We are still at the port. And the first thing is to leave our luggage, so we can have them back once we are at the boat. And we have to do our first COVID test. So that's an important procedure, even if we already have our negative COVID tests from Greece, from our home. So as we are waiting for the results, it's about 1 hour in a really nice venue in the port. We are being informed about the procedures during the cruise. And it's really important to say that for this time of the year, every tour that we are going to have during our arrivals at the ports of every place, they have to be in a really, let's say, close bubble. That means that, of course, we are tested for COVID and we are negative. And every morning, once we arrive at the port, the people that we are going to meet there, meaning our tour guide, our local tour guide, or the bus driver, the morning, like 2 hours before we meet with them, they have to do the test COVID in order to be sure that everyone is safe and that we all can go out and be safe and do our excursion. Meaning that we have to be all the time with our tour guides. That's that's the most difficult part of me as a traveler, and I guess generally, that you don't have this time of the year, hopefully for some more months, and that's it. You don't have the possibility to wander around. I mean, that's the most important, beautiful thing of the trip. And this is what I was actually missing, and I wanted to talk about it because it's important, because I was really feeling safe and I was so happy to be on board, because it was an amazing experience and everything inside I was feeling so secure. But once I was at the port and in the city, I had to be with tour guides in order to be safe and to go back again safely on the boat. It was really good. Actually, the tours were really nice. Of course, the time still remains a bit limited, because you cannot have the extra 2 hours, of course, or you cannot sit and eat somewhere. Of course, there were in many ports, there were some bars that they were already checked and were approved from the company, from the MSC. So we could go there. In fact, at Palermo, we sat next to the cathedral, and it was really amazing. We had our cannoli, we had our coffee and our granita, and it was really, really beautiful. And it
all
was,
of that in one shot.
yes. So
that's why you had to go up to the Etna afterwards.
that was the beginning of the trip, and yes, I needed to try this, and I was like, okay, if I have to go to the Etna, and it was the days with the eruptions, and I was like, okay, at least I have to try this magical portion of this red liquid to be sure that everything is gonna proceed well. So yes,
Maria,
of course. Yes.
Maria, one question that's of interest to I think a lot of people. When you were visiting all these destinations, what was the reaction of the inhabitants, or people working in the industry? Did you find them very sort of cautious or even scared that that there were people taking tours, etc.?
No, actually, it was totally different. When we were at Taormina, that I loved this place. It was so interesting because we were walking around, everyone was looking at us, and there were some ladies, they stopped me and asked me like, but are the cruises on? I mean, is everything starting, moving on again? Tell us about it. Where are you going? From where did you come? They were really interesting. And I asked them, and they were like, yes, we always, every year we have an MSC or a Costa cruise around Italy, and we want to go back to this normality. So they were actually more interested and curious about us and how come in places like Rosano, Calabro, or let me see another one. Yeah, Palermo, okay, it's a bigger city, but even in Genova, they were really curious, not afraid at all, actually. They were expecting us. I felt I felt it. They were like, oh, finally, you are back. We can see more tourists. Or, of course, locals were asking us, do you know when the next cruises are gonna start? And it was actually an amazing feeling. In Genova, the tour guide, a really, really nice lady, she was so, like, when she saw us, she said like, I cannot believe it. Thank you that you are back. It's so important for us. It's been like almost 1 year without working with tourists, and we need to show them our city, our mentality. Actually, that was the difference. She was not just explaining us about buildings. She was giving us all the sensation. She was feeling proud about her city, and you could see. I mean, no, I in both the cruises, I felt like people were waiting for us. The locals were waiting for us, and they were like eager to talk to us, to see what's going on, how come and we are there. I mean, who are we? And please tell, when I told them that I was also a journalist and I was writing about it, they were like, please tell everyone that we are here, we are respecting everything about health, so we can do it. We are all together here. It was an amazing feeling. I mean, of course, I love Italy and the places I've seen, and many of them, they were new for me, but it was more of this feeling that people were waiting for us, and it was really nice, actually. It was, I think it was the highlight of the trip, those moments that actually, I have to say that we weren't even allowed it to be like wandering around, as I told you, but still there were some people, they were coming close to us just to let us know about that we are open here, or to ask us, as I told you. And it was really nice. Once we were, what else? Sorry, what I missed during those stops and those tours were, of course, the possibility that I couldn't buy some things to bring back home to me, to my family, you know, things that they're gonna remind me of this small stop of the 3-hour stop in a place like Siracusa, that actually loved it too. what else? I have everything here. Of course, Alberobello, of course, Ostuni, they are more famous too. And in some places, I only had time to buy something once we were going back to the port. And there was, of course, a small shop inside the port. So this is something, at least, I don't know how it's gonna work for the next months, but at least it was really nice that I could, even like 5-10 minutes before the embarkation, I could stop there in the port and buy something to remind me of Malta, of Valletta, or of Ostuni. I mean, that was at least something that even if I missed it during my city tour, I had this possibility. Of course, not all ports had.
Maria, I stop you here for a moment because I know we have another video which will be very interesting of the procedure of onboarding on Costa, I think. Anya, if you can show us, and then I have a question for you afterwards.
Of course, and maybe here, yes, let's mute the video because it's in Greek, so at least okay. I'm gonna talk to you about the procedure.
That's great.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, this is, yes, Trieste. It was the first trip I took last October. And here, actually, it was the first cruise, and everything was still, they were looking how to react faster, and everything has to be really, on point. And actually here we had to wait more during the...
When was this, Maria?
Trieste.
When?
When? It was, I think, October. By the end of October. Yes,
okay,
yes. And so we had actually, once we had our check-in, we were in this area. We were given a number. We were like divided in groups. I was, for example, group 5. So I had my test COVID there. And then I had to wait almost 2 hours in order to receive the result. During these 2 hours, we were sitting there in this area, and we had some videos going on. It was really interesting, informative videos about the procedures on board. And of course, we have some food served, drinks. It was really, really, everything was really nice. Even if at the beginning you say, wow, I have to wait 2 hours. But I mean, it is what it is. And many friends or readers or followers of mine are like asking me, but what about all this bubble thing? I mean, do you actually feel the vibes of the travel? I mean, it's so under these bubbles. I'm not sure if I want to do this. And I was like talking with them, asking them, but okay, we have 2 choices: stay at home or travel in this bubble, and feel this experience too. Of course, it's something different. Sorry, I'm just pausing. If you want, you can we can see the second video too.
Okay.
You still have it. Okay. So for me, of course, as a traveler and as a really independent traveler and a curious traveler, traveling in this bubble, I mean that, of course, I want to go on a tour during the cruise, but I want extra 5 hours to go around, to wander around, to talk, to sit, to eat. And this is something that I've missed it. Of course, you cannot have all in this situation, but still it felt nice to be back again on board, to be able to feel that things are going back to normal. And even if it's, this situation now, of course, I couldn't go around as I wanted, but still I was able to travel. And it's not going to be forever. I mean, this is a situation. If we want to travel, this is how we have to do it. And we have to be responsible for us, for our families, for the other travelers. So it's okay. It was okay to have to do this all day, check my temperature every morning before going to breakfast. It was okay to have to wait an hour before our tour in order to be sure that our tour guides and our bus drivers were also tested COVID-free. it was okay to have to do another test COVID during the week. After actually Valletta, we had to do a COVID test on board, and it's okay. I mean, if I want to travel, it's okay for me. I can accept it, because I need to travel. I mean, this is everyone more or less want to travel again. So it's not like, how can I say it? It's not like prohibited. I mean, okay, it's a bubble, but it's a safe one. I was feeling less safer when I had to leave the boat after a week on board. And so, yeah, I mean,
it's worse.
What I wanted to say that, okay, it's not like before, of course, probably some months later, everything is going to be back to normal. And maybe the safety procedures are going to be even more detailed, and that's okay. I mean, we have to do it too. But still, for now, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with having just 3 hours for a tour. I'm fine with having to do 3 COVID tests because I want to travel, and this is what matters for me. So,
yeah, we understand. I mean, we are travel lovers, all of us. But I have a question for you, as I was telling you. Apart from, of course, not being able to stroll around in the city on your own because you had to be in a bubble and a guided excursion, if you have to name something that you didn't like, or maybe something that we can do better, you know that most of our members are port members, so ports, or also travel agents. And so I think your experience can be very useful for us to maybe, do something better if we can. If you have to name something that could be better done, what would you say?
I mean, I told you that for me, the thing that I didn't really like was that we didn't have time to explore more, even with the tour guide. I mean, maybe more experiences like trying local food or talk to local people while we are there. And I told you, in the port, some ports had a small shop. For me, it was really important. Maybe there it would be even really nice to have actually more interaction with the people of the ports. Of course, I'm a journalist, so maybe I see it a bit differently, but I need to feel as a traveler more about local life and even the people working at the ports. I mean, I don't want to have in my mind the port as just a stop because they're going to transfer me from place 1 to place B. I want to have to experience more on the port. I mean, in Genova, I loved the port there. It had a history, and there were people there talking about this port. And I asked our tour guide, and she said probably she knew them. I mean, I don't know if it was something from MSC or because she knew them. And they talked about, because I am really port lover and train lover, there were some things explaining there, and there were people working there that talked to us. And I mean, I really liked this. I mean, we had, let's say, a connection. I miss this from many ports. I see people that they are not so happy or friendly, and I think that this is something that maybe...
But you think that this is connected to the COVID? I mean, they were not friendly in general, or they were not friendly because they were scared of the people coming down from the...
No, I don't think it's about scared. No, I don't. I never felt of... No, not at all, actually.
Okay.
Not even thought about it, actually. No.
All right. So maybe...
But maybe there are the measures that you don't have.
Yeah, of course. It's not easy. It's not easy to be open when you cannot do that. Exactly. So maybe something that we could do is to, I don't know, you suggested to have a small shop in the port or something for a souvenir shop or local food. That's very interesting. So you can have everything checked, but available for having a souvenir.
But as Nicky asked me at the beginning about the storytelling thing, I mean, everything is about storytelling. And why not at the ports to have even, I don't know, some billboards, or someone that is going to explain something about the place, the port, its history. It's not only about shopping. This is something that every tour, for example, as we only have 3 hours, every tour could, I'm not just, I'm brainstorming actually now, could do, like start from the port and have a little brief, a little tour inside the tour in the port, and then begin the tour outside the port. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. Thank you. I know Nicky has a question for you.
Yeah, Maria, one last question that I think might be of interest, and then we can go to questions for both yourself and for Deborah. What was the atmosphere like on board amongst your fellow travelers? What was it like? Were people feeling scared? Did they not want to look you in the eye because everybody was so, or what was it like? Because normally, I mean, there is a good, a good atmosphere on board.
All right, that's true, because I only mentioned the outside. That's true. So I have to say that I found two big differences. The first cruise in October, yes, it was almost like this, as you mentioned. You were feeling a bit, everything was strange. You weren't sure. You wanted to be, to communicate with others, but you were like, okay, I'm not sure. And with the mask and everything, because you still have to wear the mask when you are in public spaces. And everything was a bit strange. I mean, I was feeling secure, but it was like, oh my God, I'm not sure. Do I have to say something? And many of the events during the week, they weren't, we didn't have many things to do, let's say. This cruise actually, of February, it was totally different. There were many people, actually, many families. I wasn't expecting that. Most of them Italian. And they were really open and were chatting, and you could see different energy. They were feeling probably so safe, I guess, that they were like talking to, I was talking almost to everyone, more or less, because we were more than 3,000 people actually in this cruise. Not, it was a really good number. And no, I think it was really cool. I have to say this cruise, everything was going really good, really smoothly. People were hanging around. Of course, there were night shows, amazing. We danced our life.
That's good.
We danced tarantella, so many things. It was totally different. And the good thing, actually, that my stories were all about it, that in Greece, for example, in 6 p.m. During the weekends, that time, we had to be at home. On board, on the cruise, 6 o'clock, I was starting drinking my Aperol Spritz, and then I was going to sit in the restaurant and enjoy my dinner, not a takeaway food. And after that, when everything was like in curfew mode in Greece or in Europe, I was going to dance in the nightclub. Of course, there were things that you should be aware of, like you still have to have your mask with you. You still have to be, I don't know, 50 people in that area or 30 people in that area. You have to check always your temperature before entering to a place. But I feel, I want to say that it was really, really smoother. Everything was easier, and you were feeling like you were in a new normality, but a nice one. I was enjoying, and people were enjoying, with families, with friends, people meeting, there. It was really nice. I have to.
Good. Okay. Faristopoli, Maria. Thank you, Deborah. I think, as usual, we found it.
Showing off with languages. I have to learn something. Come on, you're doing it on purpose.
That's the only thing Amelia has taught me all over these years. Thank you very much indeed, both of you, for your input. It's been fantastic as always. We'd like to go to questions now. I don't think there's anything on the chat. Would anybody like to ask Deborah or Maria any questions? Please raise your hands, and we'll be on the lookout for it.
while you think of making some questions, let me remind you that before leaving, we are taking a picture. So in a few minutes, please put your camera on so that we can have our usual photo from our secretariat. So is there anyone? Not today. So we made it. I think everything was very clear. And I thank you, Deborah. It was really, really nice to hear from you again. And thank you, Maria. It was very interesting to follow your travels. And again, for everyone, Maria's Instagram page is Travel Stories from My World. And it's very, very interesting. So follow her, but also follow us on MedCruise, because we have a new Instagram account that we just launched, and I have to thank our secretariat for the amazing job that they're doing. I see Anya, I don't see Sarah, but thank you, girls. It's been amazing, your job. So let's go to the photo, Anya.
Let's do it. So. Ready? First page. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Peace. Second page. So 1, 2, 3. Peace. Great. That's it.
Thank you.
Good.
So, thank you everyone for joining, and see you very soon. Do we have a date already, Emilia, for the following?
We do have a date for the PDC, for the Professional Development course, that starts on Monday, 26th of April and Wednesday, 28th of April. And for the next morning coffee, I think that we will say good morning within maybe before the GA, but haven't anything set yet. In 3 weeks more.
Okay, we will let you know then.
We will let you know, yes.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you to you all. Good luck, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye.